I'm going to be showing you how to work with data in a database using the sort feature. I'm using Microsoft Access as my database software, and I'm also using a pre-populated database about national parks. The database I'm using contains 52 records, as you can see here, and numerous fields of information. If I was looking for something specific, searching through all 52 records could be a little time consuming. So I'm going to use the sort feature to make it faster and easier to locate my information. For example, if I wanted to know which of these national parks was the first established park, then I could simply look at the year established field and sort that smallest to largest. So I'll do that now. Highlighting the column year established and locating the drop-down arrow next to the heading of that column allows me to have quick access to two sort features, ascending order and descending order. I'm going to choose ascending order, so that will give me smallest to largest. When I do that, I can see that in 1872, Yellowstone National Park was established. That is my earliest established national park. I didn't have to search all 52 records. I simply needed to sort and search for the very first one. I'll give you another example. If I wanted to know how many parks were in a specific state, I could sort on the state column. Now, instead of sorting using the heading, I'm going to show you how to use the ribbon. So on the Home tab of the ribbon, locate the Sort and Filter category. Within that category on the left-hand side, you see three sort options. Sort Ascending is highlighted because of our previous sort. Sort Descending is not highlighted. However, choosing Descending will manipulate my data so that the latest established national park or parks is located at the top, again giving me quick access to find that information. The third option is Clear All Sorts. So regardless of my previous sort, when I clear it, it will go back to its default sort, which is on the Unique ID column. Now back to my example. If I want to know how many parks are in specific states, then I could sort on State column. So I highlight the State column and I choose A to Z. Since I'm not looking for the first or the last, then I can simply sort it in a way that I'm comfortable alphabetically. Then when I do, I can search just that one field until I found what I was looking for. For example, how many national parks do we have in the state of Kentucky? As I scroll, even though I have to search this column, it makes it so much simpler because it's in alphabetical order. And I can quickly see Kentucky has one national park, and I can locate all of the relevant information about that national park much quicker. Sorting our data is very simple and straightforward, but makes a huge impact on what we want to do with our data or what we're looking for. To give you another example, I can also sort the checkboxes by simply saying if there's a check in the checkbox or not. So when I click on my drop down arrow, I can sort selected to cleared or cleared to selected. And you'll see cleared to selected means there's not a check mark in the checkbox. So if I wanted to know which which national parks do not charge an admission fee, I can quickly see which ones might be available for me to be a patron of if I didn't want to have to pay an admission fee. Now, I will tell you that you can only sort on one field. So if you wanted to know the if you wanted to sort based on state, you could not then keep the states in alphabetical order while selecting the highest yearly budget. So your sort feature is only going to work when you have one criteria to sort your data on. I hope that you have learned something about sorting data and that you can use this information to make your job or the work that you're doing more effective and efficient. Thank you for viewing. Have a great day. I'm going to be showing you how to work with data in a database using the filter feature when you have one criteria to filter. I'm using Microsoft Access as my database software, and I have an existing database populated with information about national parks that I'll be using. The database has 52 records, as you can see here by the record count, and it has various fields of information regarding each national park. So to start with, I want to show you how to filter these 52 records to only show national parks that are located in the state of California. I'm going to select the column State and use the drop-down arrow, which gives me all of the states that are listed within that column. The simplest way to filter our California national parks is to deselect the Select All checkbox and select the California checkbox. And what we are saying is we don't want to see anything in this column except California. When we click OK and apply our filter, you will notice that our 52 records have now decreased to 7, as evidenced again by my record count. And each of those 7 records show that the national park is located in the state of California. Some other ways that we can filter our information. Before we filter again, we need to clear that one. A couple of ways to do that is to go back to our drop-down arrow and clear filter from state. And you'll see that we have all 52 records back in our view. So let's filter another way. Let's say that we want to know all national parks that were established after 1950. Then we can choose our year established, and then instead of choosing all of the numbers that are representative of 1950 or later, we can use the number filter. And our choices are equals, does not equals, less than, greater than, or between. I want parks that were established after 1950, so we'll choose greater than. A box will come up and it will allow us to put our number in, and it's going to return all records where the year established value is greater than or equal to 1950. When I click OK, we can see that our records are from 52 down to 28. Now, hopefully you have watched my previous tutorial on how to sort data in a database. So I will combine the filter and sort by showing you that once your data is filtered, you can then sort the records, and it will only sort the filtered records. So that makes it even more efficient in working with your data. Now, I've showed you how to use the filter feature using the field name. I'm now going to show you how to use the ribbon. So if you will turn your attention to the ribbon, I'm looking at the Home tab, and then I am looking at the Sort and Filter category. Within the Sort and Filter category, we have a simple filter, we have Selection, Advanced, and Toggle. The first one I want to talk about is your toggle filter. When you have a filter applied, your toggle filter becomes a remove filter feature. So when I click that, it takes my filter away and gives me all 52 records again. So I am in an unfiltered state. When I choose toggle filter feature now, it will reapply the last filter that was applied to my database. I'm going to clear that filter. I have all 52 records back in view, and I'm going to show you how to use the selection option. You want to place your cursor where the value of your selection is located. For example, if I wanted to filter on average low temperature, which is this column here, then I would put my cursor in the value that I'm looking for. Now, just so that you confirm you're in the right column, if your column width does not allow for the full field heading to display, you can put your cursor between the columns, get your double-headed arrow, and double-click, and that will expand your column to the maximum amount needed to read that header. Now, average low temperature. I see some numbers here. I'm really looking for that that middle number around maybe 45. So let's look at 42 here. As I go through here and I want to know where the national parks are that have an average low temperature that's higher than 42, because I don't like the cold. Then I can go to my selection option, and you see that I have equals, does not equals, less than, greater than. So I want greater than or equal to 42. So this is just another way that we can get that number filter instead of using the field name arrow. So you'll see that I am now filtered down to 19 records, and all 19 records are showing an average low temperature higher than 42. I can also use the between. So I go to selection, make sure that you are located in the column that you want. Average low temperature, I'm going to say between. My ideal vacation spot would be between 67 and no higher than 84. That would be ideal for me. Then I would click OK, and I see that I have 4 records showing information related to national parks where the average low temperature is between 69 and 73. I can clear that filter, and I want to show you one more, which is filter by form. So I'm going to go to the advanced option and choose filter by form, And you'll see that my last filter is located there where we had it. I'm going to click the delete to clear that. And then I'm going to simply type the filter that I want. For example, if I wanted to know which national park had an acreage higher than, let's say lower than, so less than sign, 8,000 acres. See if we have any that small. Then I can toggle filter on my ribbon. And we do have Hot Springs, Arkansas, Hot Springs National Park with an acreage of 5,550 acres. And then I get all the pertinent information about that national park then. If I go back to toggle, I get my full view back and advanced filter by form. Now let's say I wanted to know which parks charge an admission fee and which ones don't. Let's say I want the ones that don't. Then under admission fee, I take that check mark off, clear that box, and click toggle. And I see that I have a number of parks available to me, 16, that I could visit without paying an admission fee. So that shows you numerous ways that you can use the filter feature based on one filter criterion to reduce the number of records in your database view so that you can work with that information much easier and faster. I hope that you have learned something that you can apply in your own work as you are dealing with databases, and I appreciate you viewing my tutorial. Thanks and have a great day. I'm going to show you how to work with data in a database using the filter feature when you have multiple criterion. I'm using Microsoft Access as my database software, and I have a national parks database that I'll be using. My database contains 52 records, as you can see, located here, and numerous fields regarding information about national parks. So as I said, we'll be using the multiple criterion. If you have not watched my single criterion tutorial, I suggest that you watch that first to get a feel for using the filter feature prior to trying to use the multiple criterion search. So, on to the multiple criterion searches. Again, my database contains several fields: park name, city, state, year it was established, so forth and so on, and we'll be using a number of these fields to do our search. We'll start with an example such as which park has a specific budget, charges an admission fee, and was built before a specific time. Now, it's possible to accomplish a multiple criterion search with several steps using the header of each field. So I'm going to show you that first. So again, I'm looking at budget. So I find my yearly budget column. And I want a yearly budget greater than $15 million. So if I use my number filter, greater than 15, and again, do not use commas in these searches. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 15 million. And I click search, I have 4 records. But I also want to know which ones charge an admission fee. So again, using my header, I clear my select all and choose yes, they charge an admission fee. That brings me to 3 parks that meet the 2 criterion so far. And then I want to add before 1900. Now, yes, we can simply look at these records and know that 2 of these were built before 1900. But if this was a massive database with thousands of records, then we would not want to have to do that. So just to show you a number filter less than 1900, and that would remove the one that was built after 1900. So that is a multi-step, multiple criterion filter search. But those multi-steps are not necessary. So what I want to do is I want to show you a more efficient way to accomplish the same task. So I'm going to go up here to Advanced, and I'm going to clear all filters. I want to show you that I'm back to my 52 original records and show you how to apply all of the criteria in one step. I'm going to go to the Advanced, Filter by Form. So I'm not using the headers in this case. The headers are only going to be useful if you have a single criterion. So Filter by Form, and you'll notice that now I have each of my headers and a place for me to put my criterion. So go back to our original example. It was a budget more than 15 million. So I'll go to my yearly budget, and I'm going to type in the greater than sign, and then I'm going to place my numeric criteria in there. Again, no commas. In addition, I want parks that charge an admission fee, so I want a check mark there. And it should be built prior to 1900. So year established is less than 1900. Now, I have my criterion in place. To apply the filter, I will go to my Sort and Filter category on the ribbon and choose Toggle Filter. And we see those same 2 parks, Yellowstone and Yosemite, that were established prior to 1900, charge an admission fee, and have a yearly budget greater than 15 million. So that is one example of using the multiple criterion to do a search. Now, the thing that I want to mention here is those were all and. They had they were established after 1900 and had a yearly budget and an admission fee. But what if you wanted an or? Now, going back to your header, you can only use the header to in one step to search for one criterion. You can use the header in multiple steps to do an and search, but not an or. So if you're going to do an or search, you will have to do filter by form. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to clear my previous filters. So I have all 52 records. Oops, didn't grab that right. All 52 records, as you can see there in my record count. And now I am going to filter by form. And what you'll see in the filter by form that we will utilize for our or search is the tabs at the bottom, in the bottom corner. So we still have all of our fields that we can place our criteria in, but we also have the or. So let's go ahead and get started with an example for this one. Let's say we want parks that were built before 1950. So year established is going to be less than 1950 or after 1980. Now again, you're going to have to use the OR tab because you can only put one criterion in your field. So we click on the OR tab. Notice that our year established is clear now, and we can put in greater than 1980. So we have an OR search going on, built before 1950 or 1980. So we won't see any of the parks that were built in between. But we also had another criterion, and that is that they do not charge an admission fee. Now that is an AND. So we're going to go back to our Look For tab, and we're going to go over to our admission fee field. And this time we do not want an admission fee, so we're going to clear that out. And then we're looking at, again, our OR. Move that over just a little bit more. So we have our year in the OR there. So when we toggle filter, we'll see that we have 9 records. Checking the year established, we want them all to be before 1950 and after 1980. And it looks like that we have accomplished that. We also wanted them to not charge an admission fee. Now what we have here is we have some that charged an admission fee and some that do not. So I did that on purpose because I want to show you how you have to be very meticulous in setting up your search. So I'm going to go back to our filter by form, and the mistake that was made is that we put the year established before 1950 and the no admission fee on one tab, and then we did the OR tab and set up the after 1980. However, in order to filter out those that charge an admission fee after 1980, we would have to apply the AND no admission fee on the OR tab as well. So just keep that in mind if you're doing an OR with an AND you want the AND to be applied to both OR criterion. So let's do this search again and see if we get the results we were looking for. So now we're down to 5 records, and we can see if we sort this smallest to largest that we have 4 records showing national parks that were built before 1950 and 1 park that was built after 1980. The reason those are the only ones that showed up is because we did the other criterion that said no admission fee. So you can see that none of these parks charge that admission fee. So you want to be very careful when setting up your AND criterion with your OR criterion to ensure that you are getting the appropriate information. And then it's always good to go back and check to make sure the information that you got, that you test it against your criterion to make sure that you did truly get that information. Okay, so that's going to wrap up our multiple criterion tutorial. I hope that this will take you into that advanced level of filtering and searching your database and will assist you in being more productive with efficient and effective searches. Thank you for viewing my tutorial today. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create queries and reports for a database. I'll be using Microsoft Access as my database software, and I will be using a populated database with information about national parks. First, let's do a query. There's a couple of ways you can do the query, so I'm going to show you both. The first one I'm going to show you is in relation to doing a filter. So if you have not watched my previous tutorials on filtering by single criterion as well as filter by multiple criterion, I suggest that you go back and view that video to get that information prior to attempting to do your queries based on filters. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm going to set up my filter criterion by using the ribbon and the sort and filter category. I'm going to click on the advanced options and choose filter by form. With my filter by form selected, I can now put in my criterion. I want to filter the database based on state. I only want to show parks in California or Utah that have an acreage over 200,000 acres. So my AND criteria will be greater than 200,000. Again, do not put in your comma there. And then in my state field, I am actually going to use the OR operand instead of the tab at the bottom. So remember, you want to put your state names in quotations so it will look for that specifically and not a portion of it. I will use the OR operand and place my two state names on the same line connected with the OR. So I have my search criteria in there, and I want to be able to save this search for later. I want to be able to go back and look at the information and use it as I develop reports and other forms of information using this information. The easiest way to do that is to save a query, so I don't have to go back and put my search criteria in again. So this is one way that we can do a search, a filter, and create a query at the same time. So we have our filter criteria in there. I'm going to go back to my advanced button, and you'll notice that I have some options down here I didn't have before. And one of them is save as query. So I'm going to click that button, save as query. Comes up and says, what do you want to name the query? And so for this one, I'm going to give it a name of Cali or Utah. And then I'm going to click OK. Now, to locate that query after it's made, you're going to be able to find it over here, but we don't see it. And that's because our view is set to tables only. So what we need to do is change that. So we're going to click on our drop-down box here, and you'll notice it's set to object type tables. We want to do tables and related views. And when we do that, we not only get our table and our new query, but we also see the parks form. And this is what we would use if we were going to add to this database, which we're not going to do in this tutorial. But I do want to show you that we now have a query that will show there are 7 records of national parks that are located in Utah or California with an acreage greater than 200,000. And if you sort that, you can see that that is the case. So we now have a query that we can refer back to at any time. To go back to our table, we can just simply click on the Parks table, and we're right back to our filter view. So let's go ahead and set that filter. Again, we see those 7 parks, and then clear the filter. So we're back to our table in full database view, all 52 records, and we now have a query that we can call up and refer to anytime we need it. So that's one way to make a query. I'm going to go back to the table, and I'm going to do a show you how to do a query based on the wizard. So we're going to the ribbon and the Create tab, and then all the way over to the right we're going to click on the Query Wizard, and we'll see we have 4 wizard query types. We're going to choose Simple Query Wizard, and then we will choose our available fields from any tables or queries that we have developed prior to this. So I'm going to leave it on Parks table, and then we can choose the available fields that we want. So when we were looking at the California or Utah with an acreage of over 200,000, we could select just those fields, and then we wouldn't be worried about average low, temperatures, yearly budget, things of that nature. So you really kind of want to know what information are you looking for about this this query. You're also not using filter here, so you're going to be getting information about each of the state parks, but you'll be able to filter out the fields that you're not interested in. So if we just wanted a query that showed the states the parks are in and maybe the city, so we'll go in here and we'll choose the park field, and we'll send that over to selected column. We'll choose the city field and the state field, and let's go ahead and do the year established. I also want to do the admission fee, so we're going to drop down, choose admission fee, and send that over to the selected fields column. So now we're going to run a query. Those are the only fields we're going to see. So we're going to click Next, and then it asks if we want a detail or a summary query. Let's do a detailed. Click Next, and before you go any further, you want to give it a name here. So let's just name this with just to keep it simple, let's do query 1. And then you can choose to open the query to view it or modify the query design. Let's do this one just to open the query. So we're going to click Finish. Excuse me. And you will see that we have just those selected fields that we chose, but we have all 52 records. So we filtered out fields, not records, in this query. So that just kind of shows you a different way that you can do that. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Parks table, and we're going to make sure that we are unfiltered. So I'm going to go to Home and Advanced, make sure there's no filters on there. And I'm going to go back to the Create tab and the Query Wizard and the Simple Query. And then I'm going to do Parks, State, Year, and Budget. I'm going to do Next. And then Detail again. And this is going to be Query 2. And this time I'm going to modify the query design. And I'm going to click Finish. Now, what we see when we modify a query design is that we can actually set criteria. So now we are filtering fields and filtering records. So I'm going to leave this untouched for a moment, and I'm going to click Run. And we will see that we have 52 records with only the 4 fields that we selected. Okay? Now if I want to get back to where I was, I'm going to click Query 2 and View Design. And I'm going to take that query and I'm now going to filter the criteria to be, let's say Alaska. And I'm going to run again. And now we only have 8 records. We still have the 4 columns, fields that we asked for, but we only have those 4 records of the national parks in Alaska. So this gives you a couple of ways on how you can run a query using the data in your database. And queries come in really handy. So I advise that when you're doing searches, go ahead and save them as a query so that you have them to refer back to. I did give my names query 1 and 2. You do want to name those so that you know what data those queries contain, so you're not searching through a bunch of queries for specific data. But I hope you enjoyed my tutorial on creating queries and that you're able to apply that to work with your data. Thank you for viewing. Okay, in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to run reports on our database data. I'm using Microsoft Access as my database software, and I'm using a populated database with information about national parks. So in previous tutorials I've showed you how to sort, filter on single and multiple criteria, and run queries. So this will be the last tutorial in my installment, and we'll be doing reports. So we're going to start with the ribbon. Currently on the Home tab, I'm going to choose the Create tab, and I'm going to locate the Reports category and Report Wizard. Now, a report can be created based on tables or queries. So I'm going to first do a table using the, a report using the Parks table. And let's say I'm interested in the acreage only of the different parks. And I kind of want to know where the park is located. So I'm going to choose the park name. I'm going to, using my single arrow, send that over to my selected fields area. I'm going to use the state and the acreage. And I'm going to click Next. Those are the only fields I want included. Then I am going to group by state, and then I'm going to group by acreage. So that's a subgroup there. Click Next, and I do not need to sort, so I can click Next. I can choose my layout and orientation. I'm going to leave that there. I can use my change my style. As I change style selections, I get a preview here. So you see Metro, Boundary, Origin. I'll just keep that one. Click Next. Then I want to name it, and I'm going to name this one Acreage because that is the majority of the information we're looking at in this report. and I can preview the report or modify the design. I'm going to preview first, and we can see here our finished report shows Alaska as the state, and then acreage and the name of the park. There's a few things about my report that I don't like. I don't like that I can't see all of the state, and I don't like that the acreage heading is so much further away from the actual data. So I'm going to show you, I have multiple pages here. Okay, so I don't like those things. I am going to close. This is in print preview mode, so I'm going to close that, and I see that I'm in design mode now, and I can change the way my report looks. So the first thing I want to do is, you see these orange pieces are selected. I want to deselect them. And one thing I didn't like was that I could not see all of the state. So in the page header, I'm going to select state, get my double-headed arrow, and simply adjust the size for my state. Another thing I didn't like is the fact that my acreage column was so wide, that my data was way far away from my header. So I'm going to select acreage, get my double-headed arrow, and bring that in. Now I should see a much better formatted form or report. So I'm going to go to my view and choose print preview, and what I see now is my state and my acreage is a little better lined up, and then my park name. So this gives me, there's some other things that I can adjust about my report in this view, and I can change my acreage. I'm going to set that to be center, and then I'm going to go down and choose the data to be centered as well. And then my parks, I want to, let's right align that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my state just a little bit larger since I have plenty of room. And let's see what that looks like for us. Okay, so that looks a little better. We have our state there. We can see those. We can see everything is not as jumbled up. Okay, so look at multiple pages here, and everything looks pretty good. Still a little design features that we could adjust, but that gives you an idea of what those, what that report would look like. So you see the report is here. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So I'm just going to come over here and choose my sub-level close window, and it says, do you want to save changes to the design of the report? I'm going to click yes, and then I go back to my table view. I'm going to go back and do another report, so I'm going to click create report wizard, and this time I'm going to choose the state from my table, and then I'm going to use, no, let me take that off. Let me change this to query, and I'm going to use my query 1, where this is a prime example of why you should name your queries and your reports to indicate what is in them. Query 1 doesn't tell me what I'm going to find in that query, but when I select it, I see that I've got park, city, state, the year it was established, and the admission fee. So I can work with those. I want the park name, I want the state name, and let's do the admission fee. And then I'm going to choose query 2, and I see that I have park, state, the year established, and the yearly budget. Let's see if it will let me choose the yearly budget. And then I'm going to click next. I get this nasty little error that says I have chosen fields from record sources which the wizard cannot connect. You may have chosen fields from a table and from a query based on that table. If so, try choosing fields from only one or the other. So I chose 2 different queries based off of the same table. So it can get a little kind of touchy. So I kind of try to choose fields from the table, because then I don't get those nasty little errors. So state, year, the park, and let's do budget. Now this time what I want to do is show you how we can see how much yearly budget is allotted per state. So I'm going to sort by state, and then that's the only sort I need to do. Let's do next. I want to sort on the year established just for fun here. Now, summary options. I want to know what the sum of the yearly budget is by state. So I'm going to choose yearly budget and put a check mark in the sum and click OK. And then click next. And then again, my layout, my orientation, I'm going to choose landscape for this one. Click next. I'm going to go ahead and keep that as my style. And then name it. And this is going to be primarily information on yearly budget. So give it a name and preview the report. And so what I get then is my typical state being cut off, my year established, the name of the park, the yearly budget. So what we see here then is we have 8 parks in Alaska, and the yearly budget sum located here at $26,284,000 is the yearly budget for the state of Alaska. So again, I can close my print preview and go in and make some changes to my design. So I'm going to take my state out here a little further. My year established doesn't necessarily have to be that big. And I want to center my year established. Oh, I guess I need to make that a little bigger so I at least get the text in there. Year established centered there. Let's go ahead and center our park as well. And the yearly budget, we're going to left align, or it's already right aligned, I'm sorry, and right align that. And then since the sum is yearly budget, we're going to add some text here to show, because it did not do that before. So our sum yearly budget. Alright, let's see what we have now with our report view. And we see that we can now see our state. Our year established is centered, as well as our park. and our yearly budget is right aligned, showing our sum as $26,284,000. And we can see that for each of our states. So that allows us to print this report now and use that to maybe establish support for a proposal, or to support statistics that we're looking at. So that is just a little simple tutorial on how to run reports. Thank you for viewing my tutorial. Again, if you have not viewed the other tutorials in this installment, I encourage you to do so. And if you have any further questions, then feel free to locate the contact information on my blog and ask those questions via email, or leave a comment below on my blog, and I'll be sure to get back to you on those. Thank you, and have a great day.